Okay, we are back with more Umineko. So,
Hooray!
back with me, Weatrice, back for a third episode, and back with the bad fucking accents. Start. Oh, where's my books for my thing? It's still very loud. Okay, it's gonna shoot me back to the fucking start. Escape. Escape.
Brooke Bestie, you need to go to your
I'm
saved
trying.
again.
I'm trying. There we go. System. I hate that it doesn't just go directly to my save. Save. Oh, do not save over
No,
exit.
load.
Load! I don't want to have to redo like 4 to 5 hours.
You know what? Maybe when you record, like finish recording today, you make a second save. Just do that every time so we don't go through something like that.
Okay. We crossed the hall again on it. So this was we just finished with the parents, and I think we went back to when the kids split off. I need my glasses. Where the fuck are they?
Or I think, were they going to the beach?
Yeah,
I forgot what they were doing.
The beach. Each, let's go your way.
They say what they're gonna say.
Have a drink, clink. Da 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 da. Bad bitch.
On the bad life, bad bitch like me, it's hard to come by.
Every Gen Z must have that engraved into their brain.
Me especially, because that's my iPad alarm for everything. It goes off every Saturday to play this particular playlist that I play every Saturday.
We crossed the hall again on our way to the entrance. As we did, we once again spotted that witch's portrait. However, spotted is probably not the best word to describe that experience. It was more like our eyes were inexorably... What the fuck is that word? Inexorably drawn to it. That woman's eyes...
Well, Battler has better English than we do.
Yeah. That woman's eyes with their sage-like glamour definitely had the power to make those who viewed it stand uprooted in spot. So this is the witch Beatrice. Wonder if that story's true. Is it? Battler doesn't believe? Back when he had asked what this picture was, the first person to tell him had been Maria. Therefore, when Battler showed signs of doubt, Maria must have felt that Battler didn't have faith in her. Of course, that I need to see how loud... Okay, I need to turn this down a bit because, oh my god, it's my ears. Therefore, when Battler showed signs of doubt, didn't have faith in her, of course, wasn't what Battler meant. Maria ran up to the portrait and began banging on a plate hanging below it. Maybe the title of the portrait was written there. Maria was trying to prove that she wasn't lying. Obstinately continued to hit the plate. Sorry about that. It's not like I doubt you or anything you said, Maria. Battler believes. When he patted Maria's head and apologized, she seemed to accept it, sticking out her chest and proudly oohing. I don't think you could say it. I don't think you can say that any other way than ooh. What's this? My beloved. Oh, what's this? My beloved bitch. My beloved bitch Weatrice. I'm writing that down. That's too funny. My beloved bitch Weatrice. Okay. Behold, the sweet fish river. What's with this weird, huge epitaph? The plate did have the title of the portrait written on it, but it was much too big to only contain that. Beneath the title was what appeared to be a long epitaph. If you just skimmed over it, several unnerving words would jump out at you. Incredible, isn't it? Grandfather had that made. Pretty deep, huh? I know. It's the place where the gold's hidden. What? It's the place where the gold's hidden. Wait. Is it that story about the Shiramiya family's hidden gold? Now there's another thing I remember from a long time ago. Hold on, Aniki, is this for real? Oh my god, this is like I forgot how loud this was because I usually have my volume set to the lowest point.
Don't do that, bestie. Have your volume up. We need to hear you.
No, like volume in my ears.
Oh. Don't go deaf.
Yeah, that's why I was turning it down. Grandfather had this made, but never said anything about the picture or the epitaph. Even so, amongst the family, it is so often whispered that indicates the location of grandfather's hidden gold, and he will relinquish the inheritance and the gold to the person who solves the riddle.
When did he become Texan?
I don't know. When I fucked up the word epitaph.
I thought it's like Silicon Valley.
He is.
What is he,
is.
Brooklyn?
He's Silicon Valley, but just sometimes he has a little Texan twang.
Is that because of his Aussie dad?
Yep. No, his dad isn't Aussie. His dad is like British. Battler's dad is just from a different dimension.
His dad is Hideyoshi, so Hideyoshi's the Aussie.
I tried making Hideyoshi Aussie,
Rudolph
and then I kind of ended up making him British.
Okay.
I heard that too. Lots and lots of gold. Well, something like that. Something like 10 metric tons of gold bars. I think it's fake though. Still, when you read about it in that epitaph, like this, it almost seems real. I think I already explained grandfather's upbringing, but let me also mention the Ishirimiya family's legend of the gold. Grandfather succeeded the Ishirimiya family after it was destroyed in the Great Kanto earthquake, and by successfully riding the stormy seas after the war, he managed to accumulate great wealth. Dude, I keep fucking up words. That much of the story everyone knows. However, this is where the strange part begins. Part of it involves grandfather's black magic session, so its credibility is extremely low, but, well, wait until the end before you doubt or make fun of it. After after the war, grandfather, I almost said the fucking Great War. After the war, grandfather correctly predicted what the future would hold. I will be back in a second. Okay, after the war, grandfather correctly predicted what the future would hold, and won in a huge gamble, accumulating a vast store of wealth. But there's a mysterious legend about how he gained his initial funding. Grandfather came from a branch family and had no connections in the business world or the financial world. Even though he later built connections with the occupying forces, he supposedly started as a nameless person who hadn't yet gained anyone's trust. It takes trust to gather money. Does it? There's no way anyone would lend money to someone they didn't trust. How did grandfather, who had no reputation at all, manage to obtain his first vast chunk of funds? When asked that question, grandfather supposedly answered like this. On a certain day, I encountered the golden witch Beatrice. Grandfather then went on about his continuing research into alchemy and techniques for summoning demons in order to become a great magician. And the entity summoned as the results of the demon calling ceremony was the golden witch Beatrice. He then apparently made a contract by which he would receive fortune in honor in exchange for his own soul. The witch then granted grandfather 10 tons of gold. Grandfather used this gold as collateral to prepare a vast quantity of funds, which he then used to multiply his wealth many times over and revive the Ishirimiya family. It seems the story is so old that even our parents were told it when they were still children. So, back when our parents were young, they explored the island in all sorts of ways, believing that the gold grandfather had received from the witch might be hidden somewhere. However, since there was the danger of them getting lost in the abandoned forest, grandmother began to spread the story that the witch lived in the forest and approaching it was forbidden. I remember that old story. When we were little, we also went all over the island searching for the treasure after our parents told us about it. Didn't we get lost in the forest once, then start crying until one of the servants found us. Our parents got so mad. Dang, that takes me back. We sure were idiots, weren't we? After all, Grandfather only bought this island after using those funds to get rich, right? That means he must have had the gold before coming here. There's no way there's the gold's on this island. That's not necessarily so. Maybe the gold was hidden on the island from the beginning. Then he bought the whole island just to ensure that it'd be his and his alone. There was a whole 10 metric tons of it, right? It seems more realistic that he tried to secure the place where it was hidden, rather than try to move it all. This epitaph was made 2 years ago, and since Grandfather wrote himself, yeah, it does make sense that the legend of the gold seems more believable. The witch's so-called gold that revived the Shiromiya family weighed 10 tons. Maybe that's sleeping somewhere, ready to be turned over to whoever can solve Grandfather's riddle. Maybe that's why he did it. Oh, I feel like this is Battler talking. I guess that sounds like Grandfather's style or something. It is Battler talking. If it's true, that's pretty incredible. The epitaph carved into the plate was very mysterious, with something like a poem or song written on it. That text was incredibly disturbing, filled with the signs of Grandfather's black magic hobby, and its contents were truly in bad taste. But it could definitely be viewed as a puzzle which, if solved, might lead to the hidden gold. Whether that's what he intended or not, I can't even imagine what his true motive might have been. All we know for sure is that Grandfather put this shady epitaph here so that everyone in this family could see. We also know that he's hinted at the existence of the gold without ever talking about it, where it might be hidden, at least so far. These facts then were embellished by the imaginations of our parents, who were convinced that Grandfather was challenging us to a battle of wits. That sounds just like my dad. So greedy that he'd take something like this so seriously. He may laugh at Grandfather's black magic obsession, but he'd still believe this story about hidden gold. It just sounds so good. Well, it's certainly not a realistic story. At that time, when Grandfather was still nameless and had no connections, there was no way anyone would lend him a massive quantity of gold bars for free. If such a person actually did exist, it's not unthinkable that Grandfather would call such a sponsor a witch. Yeah, it's 10 tons. 10 tons. If you cashed that in, how much would it come to? I mean, it'd have to be like a ridiculous amount, right? It certainly would be a ridiculous amount. They say that the total amount of gold mined by humankind since the dawn of history is 100,000 metric tons at most. That's 1/10,000 of all the gold humankind has obtained throughout history. That 1/10,000th of all the gold I need to go get my food. One more second. Continuing. I have my cheesy pasta. You will be eating sounds. This is a mukbang now. I won't be doing accents just because I'm eating. Humankind has obtained throughout history should belong to just one person is insane. On top of that, this witch.
Or did you want me to do the accents while you're eating?
If you want to read while I'm eating, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely. You get Maya's turn to read. Alright, where were you up to?
On top of that.
On top of that, this witch supposedly had all that gold collected in one place and was able to lend it to Grandfather like that. We're not talking about any ordinary person.
Well, to me, that 10 tons number seems pretty fishy. After all, no one's actually seen it except for Grandfather, right?
even if we assume that some generous witch existed and lent him some gold, maybe it was closer to 10 kilograms and not 10 tons. Even 10 kilograms would be a pretty incredible sum, right? Ew! 10 kilograms of gold is how much?
Oh shit! What? I don't
What?
know what the fuck just happened?
Maria, who wasn't following the story and felt like she was being spoken to in riddles, finally found a place where she could ask us a question. It was a question I also wanted answered right then. Whether it was 10 kilograms or 10 tons, it still felt like a huge amount, but I had no idea exactly how huge. George Anarchy folded his arms and tried to remember the market price of gold. Well, even the value of gold is affected by the market, and the value of physical gold can change depending on its purity and the trustworthiness of the foundry. You'd also need to pay handling fees to cash it in. However, that doesn't change the fact that it's a precious metal, and some people estimate that humanity will mine all the world's gold within half a century if gold mining continues at its current rate. Just guessing haphazardly, I think you could expect a price of about 2 million yen per kilogram. Well, just now, I randomly said 10 kilograms since it sounded smaller. But even that would be worth 20 million yen, wouldn't it? Ew! I weigh 28 kilograms! Which means if we had Maria-chan's weight in gold, we could estimate it's worth over 50 million yen. That's just unbelievable. How much would 10 tons be then? 10 kilograms is 20 million yen, which you multiply by 1,000, so, huh? 20 billion yen? Doko desu ka? What the hell? How much is 20 billion yen actually worth? We can only measure it relative to our own pocketbooks. Anyways, let's say that a person's wages over a lifetime are about 20 million yen. You grow up and work like crazy, sacrificing your life for your company, and you're finally freed as you approach old age. Everything, including retirement money, might add up to about 20 million yen. In other words, that's the amount of money that'll be made throughout a human's life. No, you could even call it the value of a life. Squid Game. So 1,000 times that sum is an unbelievable amount of money. If you work from age 20 to 60, that's 40 years of work, so that's equal to 4,000 years work wages. If you worked every day starting from the Jomon period, you'd only reach that number about now. Ugh. Is 20 billion yen a lot? Heck yeah, it's a lot. Maria, you love shortcake, right?
Maria Law.
You could buy more shortcake than you could possibly eat for the rest of your life. However, while that might be possible with 20 billion yen in cash...
Sorry, I'm just like finishing off my bowl.
Oh, that was quick.
I'm a fast eater.
I don't think it would be very realistic to have that much in gold bars all in one place. Let me know when you're done.
I'm just about done now.
Alright, we're swapping back over again.
Yep.
Whoop!
Is that the swapping over sound? Whoop!
Yep.
just as I said, gold is extremely heavy, so it isn't exactly convenient that as a method of storing wealth. Sure, you can imagine someone gathering their fortune together as incredibly high value stocks or precious gems. You often hear of people who traded their wealth for precious gems so that they could carry it around with them during the chaotic times of war. But you don't usually hear stories of people exchanging their wealth for gold. It may be heavy, but it's the most trusted and stable form of wealth internationally. So maybe that was important? For example, bonds are just scraps of paper if the whole country goes under. You can also look at it that way. But even 1 in 10 kilograms, even 1 10-kilogram ingot is pretty heavy to carry around. Haven't you heard? A 50-kilogram person can't carry a 50-kilogram bag over his shoulder. With that many gold bars, the amount of labor and risk for one person would be hard to calculate. So what you're saying is that while it'd be one thing if you had a stack of banknotes worth 20 billion yen, 20 billion yen in gold would be such a big mountain that practically it'd be kind of pointless. That's right. Although the Legend of the Gold does have pretty interesting interesting ring to it. Just part of the 10 tons of gold makes it pretty much impossible. If you think about it logically, like that, it obviously sounds fake. Kind of brings you back down to reality. Anyway, that's grandfather for you.
Back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, it is but he won't give up that easy.
Maybe he exaggerated the story.
Maria likes him.
Maybe,
no, not Maria, Jessica.
Maybe grandfather exaggerated the story of how some kind of wealthy person gave him a loan by saying he got 10 tons of gold from a witch. Even the number 10 tons feels pretty symbolic. Oh, that was someone else talking. That was not Battler. Whoops. You mean like his gratitude for the money he borrowed was worth 10 tons of gold or something? Maybe some rich man's leisured wife generously granted it to grandfather, and maybe he started calling this person a witch. I see. Jessica's example isn't bad. Someone who generously lent a huge sum of money to grandfather when he still had no reputation might as well be called a witch. Furthermore, grandfather actually did use that money to build a vast amount of wealth later on. The fact that this person was so great at judging people might also justify calling her a witch. Also, since she went off to the trouble of lending all that money, she might have enthusiastically overseen how it was spent. The decision to unexpectedly get involved with occupying forces and profit from the Korean War demands might have been inspired by the witch herself. That might explain why he claimed to have received both wealth and honor from her. I see. So in other words, this witch lent grandfather the funds necessary to revive the Ishimiya family, and he owed her big time. And then felt so grateful that he had this huge painting drawn and displayed. Yeah, it's not that crazy a story. It's even possible that this person was an old granny who looked like a witch. Maybe grandfather idolized her, and that's why he had her drawn to look so beautiful. I bet if we ever did meet this person, she wouldn't be nearly as pretty. Ha, that's possible. The name Beatrice sounds pretty Western, and if you think about how everyone in our family has Western names, maybe the name Beatrice is the result of grandfather trying to rearrange some Japanese person's name to make it sound Western. I get it. That means this pretty girl doesn't exist outside the picture. Guess that name, I won't be able to... Battler, why? Why? Guess that means I won't be able to rub those elegant breasts. This man! No, I need to switch. No, I can't have pervert looking at me. In the first place, isn't having a witch pretty bizarre itself? Like, you could find something that's like that anywhere on Earth. I laughed and made fun of the witch, trying to distinguish myself from the kid I was 6 years ago, who feared the witch of the forest, when Maria tugged on my sleeve. I could tell by how hard she pulled that she was a bit upset. A bit? What is it, Maria? Beatrice exists! Maria stared up at me. She had on her usual sour look, but I could tell she was angry just by the color of her eyes. Witches exist! Witches exist! Well, sure, they do exist if you turn on the TV and watch anime or something. Exist! Witches exist! I started getting impatient, not knowing why Maria was jumping on me like this. Then Jessica tapped me on the shoulder and whispered, "Dumbass, you're smashing a kid's dreams."
I can't get over how you had to turn it back to the old one just because of that one.
Yeah, I went back to the old ones because I couldn't stand looking at that fucker again. Okay. What was I saying? Maria really believes things like witches and Beatrice exist. Come to think of it, Maria-chan, in social studies at your school, when you were asked to write about what you wanted to be when you grew up, you wrote a witch, didn't you? Maria nodded seriously. Tears started to run from the corners of her eyes. I see. To a girl who wants to become a witch in the future, the existence of Beatrice was proof that witches do exist in this world. And was therefore an image that she yearned after and admired. Exist! Exist! Witches exist! But Battler still doesn't believe. Ew. It's okay. Witches do exist. I believe it. George Anakin kneeled down and hugged Maria's head. Watching this, Jessica poked my side. So that's what it is. It's like shouting that Santa Claus doesn't exist in front of a child who believes in him on Christmas Eve. I'm not the
What?
kind-
Santa's not real?
Damn, really? I'm not the kind of guy who likes to shatter kids' dreams. You just shattered one today. This goes in the images. Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to make fun of. Can you shut the? Fuck's sake! I'll be back in a second. My brother's being a pain in the ass. I haven't even been recording for 30 minutes, and everything wants to, what's it called, gets in my way. Sorry, I wasn't trying to make fun of your dreams, so I apologized.
Sorry.
Beatrice does exist. Sorry, I'm just texting back my brother. Even now, she's living in the forest and comes to the mansion every night to peek in and see what everyone's doing. So, you shouldn't go into the forest. At night, you mustn't stare into the dark forest. You might be seen by the witch of the forest, Beatrice. After all, grandmother said so. Really? Don't give her ideas. Battler really believes? Yep, I believe. Sorry for doubting it. Come on, let's make up. I stuck out my hand and Maria grabbed it with her tiny hand, and we made up. Maria didn't grumble any more than that, so George, Anarchy, and Jessica were relieved. Oh? What accent did I give this bitch? Was it British?
I think so, like posh.
I think it was just posh, yeah. So...
Adelaide.
Yes. So, this is where all of you were. I was sure you had just left to go to the beach. Shannon-chan, carrying a basket, was surprised to find us gathered in front of the portrait. Ah, Shannon. Well, this is the first time Battler has seen Beatrice's portrait. He was just fascinated by it. That's right. It's certainly interesting and fascinating. Beatrice-sama is truly beautiful. I'm sure that she's captivated the master. In addition to the patron theory, there's also a theory that she was grandfather's first love. Haha, wink wink nudge nudge. I can just imagine. I'm gonna save here for a sec. Save.
Yeah. Imagining.
I'm also gonna
What
do
are
that.
you thinking right now? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that this fucker is in love with Shannon.
Who? You think George is in love with Shannon?
Yes.
Okay. Continue.
You don't sound convinced. Was grandfather's first love. Either way, although it's been several decades since he met her, even now he holds a special place in his heart, which must mean that he's still captivated by her. Sheesh! That must have made grandmother pretty jealous, huh? Not really sure, but that might actually be true. Apparently, grandmother believed that he was cheating on her with some blonde. Is it? Good smell! What the fuck? Good smell coming from Shannon. Maria was sniffing and approaching the basket. Shannon-chan was holding with interest. After hearing that, I noticed the fragrant smell with a touch of vanilla. I apologize. I was told by Kumasawa-san to bring them to everyone. What is it, I wonder? Oh, excellent. Cookies. Wanna eat cookies? Wanna eat cookies? Please, eat as much as you'd like. But, would it be appropriate to serve cookies in a place like this, in front of the portrait? Shannon-chan sent us a glance that seemed to ask what we wanted to do about it. Well, yeah, I guess eating here would be bad manners, generally speaking. Maria, why don't we eat someplace else? Let's put the cookies in a bento and let's have a picnic. Have a picnic. If we can eat cookies, let's go. Yeah, let's get some fresh air. We shouldn't stuff ourselves in front of the witch. That's right. Didn't we say that we wanted to go down to the beach in the first place? Let's go.
The beach, eat, let's go get away.
They say what they're gonna say.
Have a drink, clink, fathom our life. Bad bitches like me, it's hard to come by.
Shannon-chan. The way I said that just took me off guard. Shannon-chan. Sorry, but could I ask you to get us a blanket to sit on and some flasks of tea? An American drinking tea? Hmm?
I know.
Right.
Who would think?
Right. Oh, right. Certainly. Shannon-chan received her instructions and gracefully bowed before retracing her steps. We headed for the beach on our own. Everyone headed for the entrance in a group. Feeling as though the witch was staring us down our backs, I turned around once more. Ewe? Battler, you still don't believe? Nope, I believe. It'd be so much cooler that way. The Golden Witch Beatrice gave grandfather 10 tons of gold. And that gold might be sleeping around here somewhere. Besides, didn't grandfather write that strange epitaph as though challenging us to find it if we can? I'd say that kind of adventurous story is way better. 2 billion yen worth of gold, huh? Even if we split up between the 4 of us, that's still a ridiculous amount of money. 5 billion yen for each of us. Incredible. With that kind of money, you could probably make any sort of business prosper. In fact, we could live our whole lives fabulously without even working at all. Well, I don't want 5 billion yen. I want cookies. Cookies. Maria would take cookies over money. Still, 5 billion yen. That's like a dream. Let's go to the beach each. Aww. I want to go to the beach each.
We're gonna get crushed by the chandelier. That's what's obviously gonna happen from that shot of this chandelier. We're gonna get crushed.
Ridiculous. Is it possible that you all believe in Father's legend of the gold? Ah! Why? Why is it this man? Ah! Of course we don't believe that story about the witch giving him gold. But there's no mistake about the gold himself. The fact that Father obtained gold bars from an unknown source has been confirmed in several ways. We've heard this before. Before the president of Maruso Company died, Father showed him a large pile of gold somewhere. Father used that man's claim as proof there were 10 tons of gold. I don't think I gave him an accent. That's just the nonsense of a senile old man.
I think we wanted to give him a German accent.
You wanted to give him a German accent. Along with the father...
Not too late to get my brother involved in voice acting in this.
He was just fabricating a story. You can't take it seriously. If that gold didn't exist, he wouldn't have been able to gather so much funding. Before the president died, he was a person with such a sincere personality that he earned the respect of many businesses. Earned the respect of many in the business world. He wouldn't be able to become a partner to such a fraud. Anarchy. The president of the Maruso definitely saw it. 10 tons of it clearly with his own eyes. Even more, Dad let the president take one ingot at random and have it examined. The results of the examination showed that the 10-kilogram ingot was 99.99% pure. He said that the Ushirimiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, was imprinted on it. That almost instantly, the Ushirimiya legend of the gold spread amongst the fixers of the business world. Gold from an unknown foundry has a poor rate of conversion into money. Thinking it was a chance for decisive profits, they accepted it as collateral as a result. Father was able to receive massive loans. There's no limit to the absurdity you're willing to accept. How old are you people? Are you still taking that nursery tale you heard as children seriously? Where is the proof that this 10 tons of gold even exists? I gave him a deep voice, that's what it was. Aren't you just parroting the lies of Father and the few of those close to him? Of course, it's just a story. But still anarchy. The amount of money Dad raises requires a subtle amount of collateral. Okay, I like that this is a very consistent accent currently.
Yay!
Even if I finally found this man's voice and it took me 5 hours. Even if the gold itself was still just a rumor, it's an undoubtable fact that he showed them the treasure of a comparable worth. It was just an illusion of money created. It was just an illusion of money created by our penniless father. He acted as though he actually had gold that exists, fooling his sponsors. It was probably the gamble of a lifetime. Luckily, his use of those funds proved successful. If the Korean War demands hadn't come and the Ushirimiya family had not been restored, Father would probably have been hounded as the crook of the century. So, are you saying the gold never existed and Father had made it all up? Of course. And because of that, the illusion of gold became a mere inconvenience once he'd achieved enough success. That's why, later on, Father added all that about a witch and black magic, weakening the credibility of the entire story. In other words, he revealed the illusion of the gold was fabrication. if he claimed to have received the gold from a witch, no one would believe that it existed at all, right? It's also... Can this fucker shut the fuck up? I don't want to do this voice. It's also possible he said it all for your sakes. Nevertheless, here comes some stupid offspring wanting to divide up this non-existent gold along with the rest of the inheritance. Rosa, don't tell me that you even believe in a fabrication like this. I can't prove whether or not whether Father really had the gold. I just want to claim my rightful share as one of Father's 4 children. Huh. It seems even you have started to talk that way, Rosa. I see. So that's what you're all getting at. You're trying to claim that I'm attempting to keep all the gold for myself. Nissan, you've gathered a massive supply of funds. That's a fact. I'm gonna give this chick like a kind of like conniving bitch voice, I think.
Yes, that is so Eva. Oh my goodness.
Nissan, you've gathered a massive supply of funds. That's a fact. If we rule out the possibility that you've been embezzling Father's personal funds, then there's only one possibility left, right? Anarchy, we've been thinking that you might have found those 10 tons of gold bars. Ridiculous. Such a thing never existed in the first place. Then explain yourself. Was it embezzlement of Father's assets or Father's hidden gold? How could you have gathered so much funding if not by any one of these methods? Even I have many friends in the political and financial realms. I have earned their cooperation, nothing more. And on that matter, I have no responsibility to explain myself to you. You understand, don't you? There are some topics that ought to not be spoken of. If you insist on that point, that's all well and good for now. But Anarchy, Dad doesn't have long. Nobody can ensure that he'll live to see his this day next year. The inheritance process will begin the instant of Dad's death. We'll arrange for the lawyers and the accountants impartial to all of us and have them inspect Dad's financial situation. At that time, if it comes to light that you unjustly interfered with Father's money, you understand that, right? I don't have a clue what you're talking about. You're starting to make me feel as indignant as my wife was. Of course, Father's gold is a part of Father's fortune. We understand if it's money you can't reveal openly, but the 4 siblings sure have an equal right to it. Hideyoshi isn't one of the siblings. Why is he?
Yeah,
Oh,
everyone calls him Dad.
Mm.
He's the daddy of the family.
In other words,
Mothering.
we're gonna have your financial situation investigated, as well as Dad's, to determine whether you're hoarding the gold or not. Isn't this a great opportunity? Right now, prove the existence of your so-called support from friends and acquaintances. That way we can sportingly apologize for foolishly doubting you. Right, Rosa? That's right. Kraus-Nissan, you are the one who's dodging the issue. If you were guiltless, you could just prove that, so you were in the right. But you aren't even trying to do so. However, Anarchy, we still have to consider your position here. As Dad's representative, you're probably bearing a larger share of the burden than we are. we've been living terribly relaxed lives until now. So, wouldn't be fair for the rest of us to complain without taking your efforts into account. Huh. It seems you cannot make up your mind whether to flatter me, or slander me. I prefer flatten. Please get to the point. Basically, random investigate nitpicky aspects of father's wealth seems like a pretty crude way to go about it. As you said, Kraus-Nissan, there's maybe more movements of money that are difficult to explain. We've come to consult you today while fully aware of that point. Both sides stand to gain from talking about this now. A consultation. Then, when the inheritance is divided, you'll be rewarded for your years of hard work taking care of our dad by an agreement that's generous in your favour. Don't misunderstand us, Nissan. We aren't saying that we'll abandon our rights, but when we make our claim for what we deserve, we might as well offer a generous understanding of your position. That's what we mean. In other words, if you accept our conditions, then when the inheritance is divided, we'll leave the investigation of father's financial situations to you, Kraus-Nissan. I really like the voice I've given Hideyoshi. Like, it's like kind of the easiest one to do. Whereas ironically,
than the voice you gave Battler.
that and because Battler's voice is my voice. I can read Battler's Battler's text quicker than literally any other character, and maybe Maria. All of the siblings from Eva downwards suspected that Kraus was trying to steal their father's wealth. So letting Kraus report the state of that wealth was extremely contradictory and a huge concession. If, as they claimed, Kraus was actually embezzling money, Kraus would be able to hide that fact. Besides which, it'd be impossible for him to control the distribution of the inheritance in a manner favourable to himself. Kraus, realizing that this sounded too good to be true, couldn't help but feel suspicious. He couldn't help but worry about what they'd ask for in exchange. Oh. After mistrusting me completely, you now say you're willing to restore your confidence in me as the eldest sibling? So, what is it you want in return? Just what we deserve as siblings. You aren't the kind of person who steal dad's property, but also aren't being financed by some patron. Considering that there is a certain explanation that satisfies the rest of us. Nissan, you found 10 tons of gold that used as Nissan, you found 10 tons of gold and used that as collateral to gather some funding. Yes, just like father did in the past, right? If that's the case, there won't be any funny business in father's finances. But you've always been a good son looking after father. Why'd we mistrust a person like that? You're being so roundabout, I can barely understand you. Please speak in a clearer, more practical terms. Our first condition, Anarchy, you must admit you found Dad's gold. Are you asking me to admit that I possess gold that doesn't exist? Our second condition, you'll acknowledge that each sibling has the right to the share of the gold and you will pay out those shares. How foolish. With that non-existent 20 billion yen of gold, that would be 5 billion yen per person. Are you telling me to pay a total of 15 billion yen? Ridiculous. Keep listening till the end. We know that much money can't just pop out of nowhere. We're not asking you to make an impossible deal. Of course, regarding the portions of the gold, we plan to reward you with plenty for your hard work until now. Our third condition, the portion of the gold to the one bearing the title of successor to the Ushirimiya head family will be 50%. The remainder will be considered the fair share of the siblings and divided up. Of course, this includes you, Krausny-san. Of the 20 billion yen, 12.5 billion will go to Anarchy. 2.5 billion will go to Eva Nissan. And 2.5 billion will go to me. And 2.5 will go to Rosa. Rosa. That division scheme makes me so grateful. I could cry. So you're saying, for the sake of the gold that doesn't exist, I must pay you 7.5 billion yen. What's wrong? Nissan, is your share is 5 times the size of ours. These are such good terms. I'd be jumping for joy. Our fourth condition. The gold will be liquidated and distributed along the inheritance at the time of father's death. However, as a deposit, 10% of our portions will be paid to us promptly. These payments will be made before March of next year. What do you think, Krausny-san? This is an ideal chance for you to restore your trust regarding your handling of father's assets, isn't it? Of course, it might be impossible to get a whole 7.5 billion before father dies, but it should be possible for you to manage a deposit of 750 million, right? Paying 700 million in a half a year might sound like a pain, but you should be able to manage it with what all your friends in the political and business spheres. Normally, we'd hope to receive the 7.5 billion right now, all at once. But out of concern for you, we'll show our sincerity by asking only 10% of that for the time being. The remaining 90% can wait until the inheritance is distributed. See? Even you'd be capable of managing a mere 10% to show your sincerity. So, you're trying to sell the rights to assess father's financial situation for 750 million yen. How impressive. You all certainly have grown. To think now I'm the one being offered deals. Nissan, if you accept these terms, the rest of us siblings will leave the investigation of father's assets to you. However, the results of that investigation will be subject to scrutiny. It's only natural, right? We'd be so sad if you managed things so that our 7.5 billion share shrank. We'll avoid complaining, as a general rule. Just make sure you do it neat and tidy. As long as you don't try anything that's blatantly obvious, we've got no intention of stirring things up. We want our inheritance quickly too. We don't want it to get all drawn out and left hanging. If a complaint is made, who would carry up the follow-up investigation? We don't mind if it's you. This is probably the first and last chance for us as siblings to reach a consensus. I believe it won't come to that. Looks like you can't even speak up now, It looks like even you can speak up now and then, Rosa. By this point, it's obvious that Kraus wasn't all trusted as the older sibling, so there's no need to go into detail. The formerly tyrannical oldest brother has always abused his privileges and violated the other siblings' shares. It was in response to this and the other three, now adults, finally are teaming up and striking back for the first time. Sorry, but there's more. Our fifth condition. This decision must take precedence over father's will. Later on, we don't want some will to appear and make this decision completely irrelevant. I see that you're very cautious. Then let me ask, if the gold were really found, what would you do? Since you're making payments to us, for what the gold's worth, the rest of us really don't care if we ever see the gold or not. You can think of our share as an advance payment. It's good to have dreams, isn't it? Your plan to turn this island into a resort, right? You might stumble upon the gold by chance during construction. Eva let out a high-pitched laugh. Kraus watched but didn't even flinch. Let me add a seventh condition before I accept. In the situation that any sibling other than myself finds the gold, they will immediately turn it over to me. Yes, of course. We'll hold on to it for you. Oh, that was the wrong sibling. I was saying that as Rudolph. That was meant to be Eva. I said it as Rudolph. It was a play on words. Of course, the others, who were forcing Kraus to pay money for some non-existent gold, wouldn't save Kraus's portion if they actually found it. From the beginning, this deal had been nothing more than a threat directed at Kraus. Regardless of the actual facts, it was still extremely likely that Kraus was embezzling his father's assets. When Kinzel faced death at last and had his inheritance distributed, some unpleasant facts would surely come to light. That could easily become fatal to Kraus. The others had spotted his weak point and were threatening their brother under the veil of compromise, trying to wring a huge sum of money out of him. However, they'd forgotten one thing. They'd forgotten their brother's brain moved so swiftly that at least when it came to cunning and guile, that they'd been forced to band together to combat him. While Ava couldn't stop smiling, sure of her victory, Kraus let out a gloating laugh to show how relaxed he was. Ha! This all makes for such a touching story. My estrangement from you all has left a deep pain in my heart. If accepting these conditions means we siblings can become friends again, it would please me to no end. I'd be happy to agree to your deal. Rejoice, Rosa. We have reached an understanding. Rosa's expression dimmed. It was never a good sign when her brother started talking like this. Eva also keenly picked up on this. That's why she was unable to wipe away a sense of unease, even though Kraus had obediently accepted the deal. My, how obedient of you. That's not like you at all, Nissan. What a cruel thing to say. Are you implying that I have some ulterior motive? Of course I don't. I'm just the same as all of you. Just the same as all of you. He seemed to emphasize that one part. The color of Rudolph's face darkened. To him, it sounded as though Kraus was saying, I have a plan similar to yours. Rudolph panicked. He rushed to bring this nearly resolved discussion to a conclusion. Then we're good. So, Anarchy, would you mind signing here? This is a written contract summarizing the discussion we've been having. There's one for each of us. Everyone will sign for the same contents. Rudolph's took 4 written contracts out of his breast pocket and had the details of their deal written on them. The 7th condition you proposed will, of course, be added right now. Don't worry about that. Anarchy, need a pen? Rudolph took out a fountain pen out of his breast pocket and offered it to Kraus. Kraus made as if to accept it, but then, with a small laugh, drew back his hand without taking it and spoke. Actually, in order to ensure that this agreement is properly executed, I'd like to propose an amendment to just one point. As soon as Kraus said that single sentence, all of the siblings felt as though something ominous was creeping up their backs at the same time. That won't do. We've already decided, haven't we? Just stay quiet and sign it. Why are you in such a hurry, Eva? Of course I'll sign. I promise the share of the gold going to all of you will be 7.5 billion yen. I also promise that when father's inheritance is distributed, I will cleanly and neatly liquidate it. However, there's one point that I simply must insist you compromise on. What are you talking about? What don't you like? The part about promptly paying 10% of your share, 75 million yen. As you pointed out, my financial situation is far from prosperous. While I can guarantee that I will collect on various future investments.
Brooklyn!
Yeah?
What's going on?
What? What's going on?
Oh, the stream's back. The stream's back. Hi.
Okay, I guess
It really glitched out for me just before.
Okay. While I can guarantee that I will collect on various future investments, I must admit that I am quite poor at the present moment. In short, I have absolutely no money that I can move around right now. I am incompetent and my business sense is dull. Since I am the loser you all claim me to be, I don't have the power to move 750 million yen in just over half a year. That can't be true. Are you trying to deceive us with such a half-baked trick? At the time of the division of the inheritance, I will liquidate everything at once. Remove the condition that I must pay you 10% in advance. That is the only condition under which I am willing to sign. Krausnison, that 10% is nothing more than a number to measure your sincerity, isn't it? All things being equal, you shouldn't have any room to negotiate at all. We're doing you a huge favour by offering to let things slide just for 10% in good faith money. Now we've explained that, you rejecting our offer would seriously damage our trust and relationship, right? Hideyoshi had a humble expression on his face and was rubbing his hands together, but his eyes weren't calm at all. Kraus had already seen through the shadow in the depths of those eyes. Well, I hate this guy. I hate Kraus so much. He's just a dick.
I know. Oh, it's gonna get worse, Brooklyn. It's gonna get worse.
Why are you
And I'm telling you, I'm gonna warn you now. You're gonna love Eva.
I already love Eva.
You will love her more.
Why are you all in such a rush? Or could it be you're afraid of something? Rosa, won't you tell me alone? Secretly, so the rest of the siblings can't hear. It's not as though I... Quit, Anarchy. All we're asking is whether you're gonna sign it or not. Just forget about making any strange deals or any suspicious moves. Huh? You say I have no room to negotiate. Are you trying to claim that I am in a weak position, which therefore puts us in an unequal relationship? Shivers began to crawl up Rudolph's back. He began to feel himself getting overwhelmed by the height of his brother's completely insurmountable wall, and the long shadow that had existed since they were children. Shouldn't deals be made between those on even footings? From my perspective, this deal will help restore the long-lost trust of my younger siblings and deepen the love between us. It's an old problem that's been eating at me, and I would prefer to resolve it as soon as possible. I would be overjoyed if we can resolve it today. However, it seems I'm not the only one who'd be quite glad to close this deal quickly. Am I wrong? Kraus stared at each of his siblings. They avoided his gaze with an animal-like instinct. Only Hideyoshi was slow in avoiding it, so he was caught by Kraus's gaze. Hideyoshi-san, I hear your company has been doing extremely well lately. At a brisk pace, it went public and both its track record and stock prices have soared. I am truly jealous. We aren't here to talk about my husband. However, it's unfortunate that you've neglected your stockholders. It's even more unfortunate that you were unable to solidify your base when you became stock listed. Therefore, you realized some bad-natured colleagues of yours had brought up a huge share of the company's stock, right? How can you know about that? The same way you knew about me. If it's possible to collect evidence proving that no one would offer a loan to me, then it's possible for me to collect evidence on you. It really... so unexpected as that? I keep moving my face for... I keep moving my face for Kraus, so it's like fucking up my throat. Water. Kraus grinned broadly. In contrast, Hideyoshi's face was rapidly turning pale. Hideyoshi's company was a restaurant chain management company that had started from nothing. Thanks to Hideyoshi's management efforts, the company had achieved success repeatedly, expanding its range, and a petition to make it stock-listed company had recently succeeded. The greatest advantage of being in the stock holding system is that you can sell stock certificates and gain a large amount of financing. That amount tends to be far greater than a businessman's normal profits. So, this is an extremely effective way to gather massive funds to expand a business even further. However, in exchange for financing the company, the stockholders gain certain rights. They're given rights that allow them to observe and guide the company they've invested in, leading to profits even greater than their original investments. This right is guaranteed to the stockholders, and they sometimes use it to dismiss ineffectual management. That right allows them to keep an eye on management and prevents the money they've invested in the company from going to waste. However, if they use it forcibly, they can eject the former management and take over the company. After all, dismissing management and nominating a new management are powers held by the general body of all shareholders. That power is determined by a majority decision of stockholders, and people who hold more stock get cast more votes. In other words, if some people or groups hold a majority of the stock, they can freely chase out the old management and make a president of anyone that they like. If they want, it's also possible for them to make themselves president. Most companies take various defensive measures to stop malicious people from buying up all their stock and threatening the position, like ensuring that lots of stock is bought up by those close to them, such as company employees. However, Hideyoshi's company had only recently become stock listed, and he hadn't had time to strengthen those defensive measures. Or maybe Hideyoshi was so engrossed in the management of his company that he couldn't properly understand the dangers of being stock listed. It's hard to say whether he should be viewed as a kind-hearted manager immersed in the work of management, or a foolish manager who had his feet swept out from under him. In other words, there existed some people who wouldn't let him get away with that naivety unscathed. They began repeatedly buying up stock in Hideyoshi's company, rapidly gaining strength that they couldn't be ignored. Then they sent the anonymous documents to the shareholders in an attempt to gain control of the majority. The document read, the current management continues to make pointless investments and ignoring the needs of the stockholders. Let us force the current management to retire, cut the current wasted investments, and let the company be born again as one that gives more back to the stockholders. It's very difficult to make the actual state of the company's management known. The fruits of Hideyoshi's sleepless nights and constant concern for his company were cruelly distorted, and he lost the trust of his stockholders. Thanks to all of these efforts, this group had almost collected a majority of the company's stock. At that point, even Hideyoshi noticed and started to buy back the stock, but the stockholders realized that the company was undergoing an acquisition maneuver. and each demanded a ridiculous price for the shares of that Hideyoshi was trying to buy back. They continually tortured Hideyoshi, who had no leeway in negotiating of the price. One of the certainties of capitalism is that the price will rise when two parties vie for the same thing. And one of the certainties of democracy is that the majority controls everything. So in the end, whoever manages to buy up the most stock wins. Put another way, whoever has the most money wins. Unless Hideyoshi could attain a large sum of money at this critical time, he could easily lose all he had built so far. Therefore, more than anything else, if he wanted a lot of money right now, he couldn't wait for the division of Kinzo's inheritance, since no one knew when he would die. And you, Rudolph, have been in quite a lot of trouble lately too, haven't you? You always hear people say it's terrifying overseas, but it seems it really is true. American trials are settled quite emotionally. They never hand down generous judgment to foreigners. Weren't you advised by your lawyer that making a settlement with the other party would be more economical in the long run? What's this all about? Well, it's just some trouble from work. No big deal. Nothing you can't settle with money. Kyrie immediately guessed the meaning behind the subtle expression on Rudolph's face. Her husband had gotten wrapped up in some kind of trouble without her knowledge and had been worrying over it alone. That's right. In this world, anything can be settled with money. After all, it can even buy back the broken bonds between siblings. America is very fussy about the violation of rights, but with money, anything can be settled. Long live capitalism. No, boo.
Oh my goodness.
How did I do that?
What was... Oh wait, is that thing like a thing that shows the previous text? What?
I guess?
The yellow thing?
I don't know how I did that though.
Sure.
Okay. I guess I skipped that thing. Rudolph had been building a large amount of wealth with a certain type of niche industry. However, a niche is a niche. It definitely wasn't a business exposed to the light of day. An American corporate giant was trying to accuse Rudolph's company of violating their rights. For various reasons, it was thought that victory for Rudolph in this trial would be extremely unlikely and was being forced into an all-out surrender. But even so, there was a way for this to be resolved with money. If he could just pay that money, it might still be painful, but he'd be able to pick himself back up. But if he didn't pay, he'd lose everything. Therefore, more than anything else, he wanted a lot of money right now. Rosa, you're a good and noble little sister. You wouldn't want to get yourself involved in a dangerous money game. However, your soft-hearted nature is what has brought you trouble, hasn't it? In my opinion, becoming co-signer for anything isn't something one should enter into lightly. That's none of your business, Krasny-san. Rosa uncharacteristically laid her bare emotions and yelled. After all, no one was supposed to know that. As Kraus watched her, he let slip a muffled laugh. Without exception, every one of them, more than anything else, wanted a lot of money right now. In other words, the situation had been reversed. After all, the person the younger siblings were threatening was the only one who had no urgent need for a large sum of money. The other three, however, wanted a lot of money quickly, no matter the cost. In other words, the longer it took to establish this deal, the better position Kraus would be in. Kraus was extremely sly. He had known of their Achilles heel from the beginning. Even so, he had not been certain. Therefore, he had hidden his knowledge until the very end, striking back only after analyzing their attitudes. If it were possible, I would like nothing more than to raise some money for my adorable siblings in their time of need. But unfortunately, I have nothing on hand. If you know any sponsors that might be able to raise a whole 750 million, I suggest you try there first. Krause's elated words were obviously detached from what he actually felt. Other siblings could do nothing more than listen, grinding their teeth. If they could think of a sponsor that convenient, they wouldn't have kept up this charade. They had entered this huge battle specifically because they exhausted all their other options. However, if you do insist on relying on your big brother, I wouldn't mind using my influence to help you find such a sponsor. Oh, wait, I do believe you said that I have no influence. Well then, I'm afraid I won't be much help to you. Krause's low, gloating laugh began to fill the parlor. The younger siblings, who'd been driving the oldest brother into a corner until a moment ago, could do nothing more than grimace and grind their teeth. Ava, don't make me laugh. As if I'd ever put myself in your debt. Don't make me laugh. Don't make me laugh. If we relied on you, how exactly would you help us? I told you, didn't I? All I can do is help find other sponsors for you. Of course, I will negotiate for the highest interest rate possible. Damn you, taking advantage of us. Honey, please calm down. I am calm. I'm extremely cool. You bastard. Kaya grabbed her husband's hand, but that action made him feel even more pitiful, so Rudolph shook it off. Krause laughed as though watching something highly amusing. In times like these, it certainly would be nice to find Father's hidden gold. If you did, you could split it up into 2.5 billion yen portions right now. How sad, how sad, how very sad. How extremely, totally, truly, hopelessly sad. Tonight, let us all drink together as we solve the riddle of Beatrice's epitaph and discover the location of Father's hidden gold. If we four friendly siblings work together, there is surely no puzzle we can't solve. Ha! I've got a Karopi in front of me. A little Karopi. Are we finally getting back to the kids, please? Do not tell me I'm with Kinzo.
Being traumatized by those adults.
I don't want any more adults. I just want to follow Battler, and I don't care if he's a fucking pervert. Quite an entertaining scheme. Well, then, what are the conditions they've attached? Well, whether or not Cross Summer has actually discovered the gold, he'll pay Eva, Rosa Summer, and Rosa Summer a total of 7.5 billion yen for their shares. However, 10% will be paid before March. Ha ha ha! Why am I with Kinzo? Oh my god! Kraus, you dunce. To think he would have his feet swept out from under him by his younger siblings. How truly amusing. But it sounds as though they tripped when going in for the kill, yes? Yes. Kraus Summer exposed the fact that Eva, Summer, and the younger siblings all have urgent need to get money. Is there even need to expose such obvious facts? That irresolute, incompetent man. What are they doing right now? The conversation has been put on hold for the time being. Now, Beatrice Summer's epitaph is being discussed. So they're trying to solve the riddle to find out where my gold is hidden? Yes. Kinzo set down his spectacles and snorted. Will the miracle be fulfilled first? Or will those fools expose the gold first? What show will this be? At the very moment those fools solve my puzzle, I will suffer utter defeat. They can suck my corpse down to the last fragment of bone. The greed of those fools can allow great magic and bring forth a miracle. And yet, if the fulfillment of the miracle comes first, If it comes first, Beatrice will be resurrected again. The smile I've been chasing half my life will be restored. Oh, Beatrice! Soon will come the sacred night when we shall bet upon a miracle, and the game of demons shall begin. I will surely prove triumphant and survive. I'll let you have the lives of all those others. I don't need wealth or honor or assets or gold or anything. All I want is to see your smile one last time. Kinzo choked, apparently in great pain. Kanon got closer and tried to pat the master's back, but Kinzo motioned for him to stop. Do you know why I went to the trouble of exposing the hidden location of the gold in that place that everyone can see? No. Is it because... Oh. It is because magical power is determined by all the risk. If the number of people who try to discover Beatrice's gold is great, then the danger of them succeeding is great as well, and the power of magic will bring about a grand miracle if we succeed despite the odds. In other words, magic is a game. It is not the case that the one who performs the best becomes the victor. The victor performs the best because he has been granted magic. Do you see? It is similar to how the miracle of life can be granted only after winning against divine odds of several 100 million to 1. Is this a little difficult for you? My apologies. That's fine. It all comes down to this. I will give that I have built up to the ones who solve the mystery of Beatrice's epitaph. Wealth, honor, gold, and the inheritance of the Ashirmia family. Everything that I have established. My children certainly aren't the only ones with the right to attempt to solve this riddle. Anyone who solves this riddle will have the right to gain everything. Even you. Yes. However, I couldn't possibly understand such a difficult riddle. Of course, I made it difficult, but you must try to solve it as well. That will form the seed that summons the miracle of my magic. If everyone attempts it and everyone fails, that will be that. However, if the miracles come together and give birth to magical power, it will happen. Beatrice will revive. That is why you must attempt it too. Everyone must attempt it, and in doing so, they will give strength to my magic. Do you understand? Yes, I will try. For a long while, Kinzo repeatedly muttered to himself, agitated and clutching at his head. Cardon stayed for a while, stayed where he was, alert and unmoving, until he was given the next order from his master. Kinzo eventually realized this. Very well, leave me. There's a bag of sweets on the liquor cabinet. You can take some with you as a reward. I'm fine. After all, I'm furniture. So, furniture doesn't eat sweets? Oh, I suppose it stands to reason. In that case, leave me. Yes. Excuse me. Kanon bowed and left the study. As the door closed, a heavy locking noise sounded. Two hearts who beat as one, two of
I might just
hearts.
quickly swap over to my iPad again.
Yep. I'll pause.
I'm hoping this will pick up less noise from my end, because I think it was the laptop that was picking up a bit of noise from.
Okay. Let's turn that down a bit then. Burp, burp. Okay. But it was not the sound of Kanon locking the door. It was the door locking automatically. No one could enter without Kinzo's permission, and once they left, they could not enter again. It was the mechanism that Kinzo, unable to trust his own blood relatives, had created. to seal himself up in his own study and isolate himself from the outside world. He was already unable to trust anyone excepting not the children who shared his blood, but those servants who called themselves furniture. Nanjo-sama, how are you feeling? Oh, Genji-san. It's just that there's no place for me to be anymore. With that bitter laugh, Nanjo turned to face the door to the parlor. That look was apparently enough to tell Genji what Nanjo wanted to say. For the most part, Genji understood the family situation. It must have made him want to frown, knowing that right now in the lounge, the master he served was being discussed so disrespectfully. But it would have been very difficult to gather that from his indifferent expression. Still, I don't understand. Why did Kinzo-san have something something so provocative written, I wonder? Nanjo looked at the portrait of Beatrice. No, he actually directed his gaze beneath the portrait at the plate with the epitaph. I do not presume to understand the master's thoughts. However, I'm sure he had a deep reason for doing so. Since long ago, when Kinzo-san played chess, he would always prepare his moves according to some far-reaching judgment. Yes, sometimes even to make moves I couldn't understand. For an average person like me, it was impossible to see through whatever he was planning. Sometimes I wonder if this might be some kind of will in the master's eyes. Perhaps he wishes to hand over his wealth and title to the ones who can understand it. So you're thinking he may have wanted the 4 siblings to work together and solve the riddle, before some outsider like myself solved it. Kinzo-san may speak of his children in insulting terms, but perhaps he also wants them to repair their relationship. It certainly would be heartwarming if, as Nanjo had suggested, this epitaph had been made to repair the siblings' relationship. However, both Nanjo and Genji knew that nothing could be more impossible than this. They'd known Kinzo longer than anyone, and Kinzo had trusted them more than his own relatives, but even they could not guess his true motives. The master always says that everyone has the right to try and solve the riddle, even if they aren't a member of this family. What about you, Dr. Nanjo? No. It's a little too difficult a puzzle for this senile old man. Actually, I once wrote this epitaph down in my notebook. Night after night I would try to solve before going to sleep, but it really is hard. It looks like we might have some free time to relax and consider it before someone comes and gets us. What do you say, Genji-san? I am nothing more than furniture in service to the master. Gold and assets are necessary to me. My, you're very modest. I imagine that that's why Kinzo-san trusts you so much. If so, I am honored. As Nanjo lightly laughed in response, he once again looked at the epitaph. Behold the sweet fish river running through my beloved hometown. You who seek the golden land, follow its path downstream in search of the key. The epitaph on the portrait of Beatrice, this is called my beloved bitch I said my beloved bitch Weatrice again. The epitaph on the portrait called my beloved witch Beatrice goes as follows. I can't get over my beloved bitch Weatrice. Oh no. Behold the sweet fish river running through my beloved hometown. You who seek the golden land, follow its path downstream in search for the key. As you travel down it, you will see a village. In that village, look for the shore the two will tell you of. I kind of want to have a think about this. Behold the sweet fish river running through my beloved hometown. You who seek the golden land, which is obviously you who seek gold, follow its path downstream and search for the key. As you travel down it, you'll see a village. In that village, look for the shore the 2 will tell you of. There sleeps the key to the golden land.
Don't yawn, bestie.
The two
Don't
who...
let epitaph drain your energy and your brain power.
Bro, it was Kraus who did that. Oh my gosh. Look for the show on the two will tell you of. Methinks that's a certain two characters that
I don't even remember that part of the epitaph, I'll be real.
Methinks it's a certain two characters that you have shown me. The one who obtains the key must then travel to the Golden Land in accordance with these rules. On the first twilight, offer the 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. On the second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. On the third twilight, those who remain shall praise my noble name. On the fourth twilight, gouge the head and kill. On the fifth twilight, gouge the chest and kill. On the sixth twilight, gouge the stomach and kill. Why do I feel... So obviously I feel like these are going to be like... If this is horror, this is going to happen. But I feel like these are supposed to be referencing chess moves. On the 7th twilight, gouge the knee and kill. On the 8th twilight, gouge the leg and kill. On the 9th twilight, the witch shall revive and none shall be left alive. On the 10th twilight, at the journey's end, you shall attain to the power of the Golden Land's treasure and once and for the last time. The witch shall praise the wise and bestow 4 treasures. One shall be the gold of the Golden Land. One shall be the resurrection of all the dead souls. One shall be the resurrection of the love that was lost. One shall be the love that was lost. I'm hoping that's like what's it called?
That's who.
Huh?
That's who.
That's who. I'm hoping that's for like love that was lost, as in trust between siblings. But what's it called? I'm gonna assume that's love that was lost between, I would say, Shannon and someone else.
Don't take the way I say words to mean anything. I just say words sometimes and you just think I mean them in a particular way.
You know things and I don't, so I get suspicious, okay?
Maybe I should stop knowing things.
Time for me to give myself a little lobotomy so I no longer know things. One shall be to put the witch to sleep for the rest of time. Sleep peacefully, my beloved witch Beatrice. My beloved bitch Weatrice.
Umineko no Nakakoroni.
Welcome to Rockinjima. Okay, time is passing. It's been like an hour, I don't know. It's 3 p.m. It's 4 p.m. in real life. Oh my god.
Are we finally going to the beach?
We're at the beach each. Let's go get away. They say what they're gonna say. Have a drink. Clink. So, on the 10th twilight, the journey ends. And you reach the Golden Land. You really are diligent, Maria. You did a good job writing this all down. I'm saving. Save? Okay. I forget a lot, so I always write things down. Honestly, same, sis. Mama told me to. There was a notebook inside the handbag Maria was always carrying around, and Beatrice's epitaph was copied onto it. Thanks to that, we were all able to challenge the puzzle of the epitaph while walking down this beach. Jessica and the rest had already tried to solve it several times and already gotten bored with it. However, since this was a first for me, I was so excited that I couldn't stop. It really tickled my sense of adventure. Let's start with the first line. Behold the sweet fish running through my beloved hometown. Where was grandfather's hometown again? I heard that before the war, the Ushirimiya family mansion had a mansion near Odawara, which makes you want to know which Sweetfish River flows through Odawara, right? Yeah, because that river would be the starting place. Anyone searching for the Golden Land would head down that and search for the key. What's this river in Odawara? Does it have sweetfish swimming in it? If you're looking for the sweetfish in Odawara, it'd have to be Hayakawa. It's famous for its mountain stream fishing. Ew, I hate fish. Maria, you'll understand when you get a bit older. Lick, 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 tasty roasted sweet fish. Yummy. Even though we just ate, I'm getting hungry again. Shall I bring you a biscuit? Huh? Oh, sorry, that's not what I meant. Don't mind it. Shannon-chan was faithfully keeping us company since she didn't have any afternoon chores for a while. I would have thought that since she's a servant, accompanying us would force her to take care of us and tire her out, but that didn't seem to be the case for her. On the contrary, she seemed to be enjoying joining in on the conversation with people close to her age. When I asked, I heard that she was the sort of worker whose room and board was supplied by her employer. So normally the only person close to her in age was Jessica. Yeah, I can imagine how that might be pretty dull. Okay, so I get that sweet fish-filled river near Odawara is Hayakawa. In that case, we've got to go down it. Do you find anything if you head down Hayakawa River? If oh my gosh, I've been yapping for so long. Hold on, how long have I been talking for? An hour and a half. I'll try and get it to 2 hours and then I'll finish. Okay. If you follow it downstream, you'll arrive at the ocean. Of course, you'll reach the mouth of the river. And the third line of the epitaph was, as you travel down it, you will see a village. By the way, since long ago, the mountains of the river have been key points in transportation, and large cities tend to be built there. That'd be the exact next checkpoint. That's a pretty good theory. Just like you guessed, it's an old city that was very prosperous in ancient times. That's where Odawara Castle is. I'm not using the voices at the moment. My throat is sore.
Oh, no,
I think I have gone to Odawara Castle on a field trip once. It was really a wonderful castle. Yeah, I also went there. Even though I live in a Western style house, it's true that Japanese people feel calmer with a Japanese layout. Iwi? Castles are boring. Theme parks are better. Iwi? I see. Okay. If we find the gold, the Great Battle-sama will generously reserve a whole theme park for a day and let you play in it. Still, Odawara Castle, huh? The hidden gold of Odawara Castle. Oh? It's actually just starting to sound pretty good. Haha. Well, we figured out that much 2 years ago. The village down the river where sweet fish swim in Odawara, we figured it was probably somewhere near Odawara Castle. The problem is the next line. Okay, let's see where Battler's strange reasoning can take him. Jessica grinned broadly. She seemed to be implying that she would have solved the puzzle long ago if it was that easy. Damn it. I'll definitely find it and keep it all to myself. The fourth line. In that village, look for the shore with the two for the shore. The two will tell you of. I don't know what it means by the two. But anyway, the shore. What does it mean by the shore? No, wait. Is there any place near there with shore or Kishi as its name? I've heard there's a place called Sogakishi in Odawara. Huh? Wow. You should know. You should know a lot about it. What could that mean? This is just Battler's voice now. Shannon-chan, are you trying to solve the riddle? And I sound like a Muppet. You know what? Battler's a Muppet. And get the gold too? That makes us rivals. That makes us rivals. It's not like I'm interested in gold. It's just that George-sama told me about it before. That's because we reached the same conclusion 2 years ago. We even went to the trouble of laying out a map and looking it up. It was about 5 kilometers to the north of Odawara. We definitely found a place called Sogakishi there. However, after that, we get stuck. The fifth line says, where the key is hidden in that place. Maria-chan, can you read it for us? There sleeps the key to the Golden Land. I couldn't read it. Oh, I could read it. Maria can't read. So Maria can't read, and Battler talks like a muppet. That's the new developments. Sogakishi is probably large, and there wasn't ever any house built there by the Urashima family. Not much we can do to find a key in such a vast area without any hints. You're right. And without the key, we can't advance to the next line. George Anarchy, what kind of place is Sogakishi? Let's see. I've never been there, so I don't really know, but according to the map, it's in the mountains. I'm pretty sure it was at the base of Mount Asama. Something doesn't feel right. I feel the urge to bust out the Muppet voice, but I don't remember how I did it. You'd expect a little part of the road to the hidden gold to be more fast. I get the feeling that even the part about Sogakishi was a mistake. Anytime Battler talks about boobs, I'm giving him the fucking Muppet voice. Well, I think it could be Sogakishi. That really tickled your fancy, didn't it? It could be talking about some house that grandfather lived in when he was a kid that we don't know about. After all, the first line mentioned his beloved hometown. Shannon, you've served Colin stuff lots of times, right? Hasn't he ever talked about his past? The master almost never speaks of his past. However, he talks of the Great Kanto earthquake as though it was someone else's story. So he may have been living far away from the Kanto area. The Ushiramiya family have always been living in Odawara, but not all of the branch families were. Grandfather calls himself a part of a branch family. Oh shit, my internet just cut out again. The what? Say that again?
Just repeat what I said in the editing.
No, I wasn't recording that part, that's why.
Oh, okay, it's the great Kermit Bibble lady woman battler thing.
The great Kermit Bibble battler woman thing. The Ushiramiya family may have been living in Odawara, but not all the branch families were. Grandfather often called himself a part of a branch family, at least connected to the successor. And that means the beloved hometown might not even be Odawara at all. I've never heard anything about grandfather's hometown, and I doubt he'd actually tell me if I asked. If the so-called beloved hometown isn't referring to the Ushiramiya family's roots, then the Odawara theory is wrong from the beginning. Of course, this doesn't completely remove the possibility that it was Sogakishi. For example, perhaps he lived in Odawara when he was very young, but then moved away later. Uwe? I don't understand what you're talking about, Uwe. Maria had been completely left out of the conversation, and she now was puffing out her cheeks in boredom. So basically, if we can't even agree on the starting point for this dice game of gold, we're totally stuck. But wait, after the first 5 lines, the thing we end up finding is a key, right? Even if you don't have a key, it's always possible to bust through the door. Can't we just skip the first 5 lines and start figuring out the rest? Oh, I haven't thought of that. Oh well, we're just wasting time anyway. Let's hear the rest of Battler's reasoning. But in the next part, it gets really dark fast. Shonan-chan frowned slightly. After looking back at Maria's notebook to recall what was written there, yeah, I was forced to agree. On the first twilight, offer the 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. It sure does get horrible quickly. On the second twilight, it says to tear apart the 2 who are close. Does that mean to make them break off their loving relationship, or does it mean to literally tear them apart? I don't know, but either way, it's pretty disgusting. Even if we set that second line aside, it mentions 6 people for the first twilight. Then 5 people for the 4th through 8 twilights. So at least 11 people must be sacrificed. Their sacrifices to revive Beatrice. I see sacrifices to restore the witch. Yeah, that's what it'd mean. Near the end, the witch will be revived on the 9th night. That last part is guaranteed. On the 9th twilight, the witch shall revive and none shall be left alive. So everyone will die in the end. After that, the 10th twilight is the goal line. Not sure how you're supposed to reach the golden land if everyone's dead by then. Depending on how you interpret it, the traveller who holds the key may or may not be included in the none shall be left alive part. But at the end, there's something pretty interesting. After reaching the goal, the witch gives out 4 treasures. 1 shall be gold. The problem is the next one. It says dead souls will be resurrected, right? Doesn't sound like it means everyone who died in the earlier lines. If you put it like that, the part about reviving long-lost love might refer to the pair torn apart in the 2nd twilight. That's right. The 4th one refers to the 9th twilight. The 4th treasure will be putting the witch revived on the 9th twilight to sleep. If you put a happy spin on all this, it'll be hectic with people dying and breaking up all over the place, but it'll be made right in the end. The awakened witch will sleep again, and everything will be like it was at the start, except with a huge pile of gold. The witch must be pretty busy with all that killing, reviving, and breaking up and reuniting people. Not to mention waking up and sleeping. Ha ha ha. Sheesh. Just when the tale of the hidden gold was getting interesting, it all gets pretty dubious once the witch starts showing up. Too true. I laughed along with Jessica. After all, After all, the idea of a witch was just too ridiculous. Of course, once we started laughing like that, Maria, who believed in the witch, got angry. Ew, the witch is incredible. She can do anything with magic, even kill, even bring back to life, even give love and take it. She can fly in the sky, can become invisible, and even make gold and bread out of nothing. Uwu, uwu, uwu. Dang, my bad. We were just joking. Jessica apologized, sticking out her tongue, but Maria didn't accept. She grabbed her notebook out of my hands and opening to some pages, trying to prove that witches exist. Those pages had some colourful drawings of witches on them, and well conveyed and fantastical image Maria had of witches. It wasn't the normal sinister image of a crooked-nosed hag flying on a broom, but a dreamlike person with unnatural powers who could do anything and wore a beautiful dress. It was just like what you'd expect from an imaginative young girl. Flitting through the sky, crossing a rainbow, dancing around all night with a teacup and teapot that would never get empty no matter how much you poured out of it.
Oh, a dream.
Of course you would say that. With the flourish of her staff, the stars in the sky would become candy in Boar Town. The flowers that would produce sweets would bud by the roadside. To Maria, witches were the only concept that could embody the magical dream that so captivated her. As she grew older, it was her last remaining thing that could give her richness to her dull and plain everyday life. That's why Maria believed in witches. She didn't want that dream of hers to be tarnished. That's why she didn't want anyone to tarnish the epitaph which affirmed the existence of witches. Because the witch named Beatrice is Maria's dream. To Maria-chan, the epitaph isn't a guide to the hidden gold, but a magic to revive the witch. So it was the single link between Maria and the witch. Maria was very angry and clung to George Anarchy. Jessica and I scratched our heads and apologized. It might not be possible to smooth things over again like the time she got mad in front of the portrait. Maria didn't seem willing to be easily consoled. Unlike Jessica and I, who hung our heads wondering what to do, Shannon-chan timidly opened her mouth. Maria-sama, did you know? There's a ghost story about Beatrice that's been passed down among the servants. Is it? Ah, yeah, that's right. Shannon, tell us about it. I really don't know, but it's apparently pretty famous among the servants. What is it? What is this? A ghost story? Yes. It seems like a story from before we were even born. Water. Drink your water!
What?
I'm drinking water.
Okay.
So if you have water, drink it now.
Alright. Mia's giant drink bottle mukbang. Can I open this thing? Is it? No, it's not stuck.
Ah.
Ugh. Ooh.
Ooh, water break. Okay. Yes, it seems a story from before we were born. I also heard about it from my mother. Yes. It's been passed down since the time of the mansion's construction. The servants of that time whispered about the mansion had two masters, one day and one in the night. The tale that Shannon told was just like a typical campfire ghost story. If there was a forest with a witch living inside it, then of course the witch would come pay the mansion a visit from time to time. At some point, this ghost story naturally sprouted up between the servants. When people do the rounds a second time to check the doors, windows, and locks that was supposedly closed, they'd find some of them left open. Lights that were supposed to be turned off, turned on, and lights that were supposed to be on went out. Things left lying around would disappear. And things that would appear when no one had any memory of putting them there. When any of these things happened, the old servants would say that the witch had visited the mansion invisible and was playing pranks. Ibe? She exists. Beatrice exists. Yeah, she exists. Long ago, it was always right before leaving for school that I wasn't able to find my bag and stuff. Maria puffed out her chest with an uwu as though this was final proof that of the witch's existence. If I opened my mouth, Maria would probably be hurt again, so I didn't. Good idea. I mean, you hear this kind of story everywhere. Depending on the place, they might blame it on a dwarf or an elf. The only difference is that they call it a witch on this island. Of course, walking around the vast, elegant mansion at night would be a little bit unsettling. It's an island devoid of people. Since the mansion is so drafty, walking around the night of a thunderstorm would certainly be eerie. In addition, some servants have also seen will-o'-the-wisps and glittering butterflies dancing around. Karno-kun also saw something like that when he went patrolling one night. And recently, you often hear servants talking about strange footsteps heard inside the mansion near midnight. We've whispered together that Beatrice Summer in the portrait sometimes makes herself invisible and walks through the mansion. It happened a while ago, but even I heard footsteps while patrolling at night that resemble these stories. Whew, that's scary. But there's nothing to be afraid of. Beatrice Summer is another ruler of this mansion, separate from the master, so there's no need to be unnaturally afraid. If you respect her, I hear she won't do anything bad. However, she can be quite terrifying if you don't respect her, right? Correct. I've heard that just before I began working here, someone who spoke badly about Beatrice Summer fell down the stairs and quit after receiving a large injury to their back. Because of that, there has been a rumor that between the servants that Beatrice Summer's anger has been brought down upon this person. Ibu? Anger will definitely be brought down on Battler and Jessica. Ibu? I'm sorry. I don't want her anger to be brought down upon me. I apologize, Maria. Of course, I also apologize to the witch. I'm sorry, Beatrice Summer. Please forgive an outsider's nonsense. I'll apologize as well. I'm sorry, Beatrice Summer. Will the witch be able to forgive us now? Iwu? Don't know. Witches are fickle. They forgive when they want to, and don't delve when they don't. Iwu? That was very grown up of Maria to say. That's no good. Maria-chan, isn't there some kind of good luck charm that could prevent Battler-kun and Jessica-chan from suffering Beatrice Summer's wrath? Maybe something that can block against magic? Relying on Maria, who was proud of knowing the most about witches, George was trying to revive her self-esteem. Once again, I've got to admire his ability to calm kids down. After taking a moment to cross her arms and seriously ponder whether there might be a charm that could save us, she started flipping through the pages in her notebook. I thought it was just a scribbled diary, but there also seems to be quite a few pages that look like they come from a book on black magic. Maria solemnly considered a group of these pages which contained things like what looked like magic circles. Apparently, Grandfather wasn't the only one with a black magic hobby. I love that the oldest and youngest members have black magic hobbies. That's very fun. When Maria finally found out what she was looking for, she snapped the notebook shut and threw it into her handbag. She then began fishing through that bag's contents. There seemed to be various jumbled things in there. After a while, she took out various pieces of junk, although they were probably important magical items to Maria, and then repeatedly threw them back in, saying they were wrong. It was a little bit of humorous, just like when Doraemon took out the wrong tool. Doraemon took out the wrong tool.
I love the Dora Pokemon crossover.
Oh my god, it was so fun. Did you see what Pokemon Boots got? Crazy.
I know.
Finally,
insane
in the membrane. Finally, she seemed to discover what she was looking for. With a face that was unimaginably cheery, she compared to the intense expression she had worn until now. She held those out to Jessica and me. Ooh. I grabbed it and saw there was a very cheap looking charm. It looks like a bracelet made from a plastic rosary with a scorpion themed medal attached. Haven't you ever seen those cheap Zodiac themed accessories? Do not tell me it is like a Scorpio themed thing.
Brooklyn, they're coming for your ass.
They are coming for my ass. The kind you might win in a crane game at an arcade. It really looked like something like that. There were two of them, probably one for me and one for Jessica. However, the very fact that there were two of them made them feel even more cheap, like cheap manufactured goods, making it pretty hard to think of them as magical items. You're giving these to me and Battler? Uwe? With these charms, you don't even need to worry about Beatrice, because scorpions have the power to ward off magic. Oh, really? I didn't know scorpions could do that. Ooh, Battler doesn't believe. Ooh. I'd said too much and angered Maria again.
Oh my goodness, wait, fun fact, Battler's also a Cancer, so both of our horoscopes are being represented today.
Yes. Maria took out her notebook again, pointing out various pages that went on and on about how scorpions had such incredible holy power and had been used in magic-repelling magic circles since ancient times. I've heard about that from some other young servants. Something about how the scorpion is drawn as a magic-repelling symbol in sorcery. Huh? Really? Is it? Oh, okay. It's the scroll wheel that's doing this yellow thing. The scorpion protects against magic and calamity. The emerald brings peace to the heart. Therefore, its effects are twofold. It's true. The scorpion wraps around the emerald and protects it. Yes, this certainly does sound like it would work well. I really wanted to make fun of those worthless looking charms, but as I watched Maria explaining it all with all of her heart and realized that she'd found them for our sakes, I started to feel like it might actually work, even if it was just a prize from some game center. The material quality of the charms didn't matter. What mattered was the strength of her feelings. Even I don't think of myself as the sort of loser who'd laugh at something like this. Okay, thank you. I apologize to Beatrice-sama, but even if I do end up getting cursed, I'll be safe now thanks to Maria's charms. Right, Jessica? Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Maria. Is it? Wear it on your arm when you want your heart to be at peace. Put it in your wallet and your money won't decrease. If you hang it from the doorknob, bad things can't get in. It's a really convenient charm. What an incredible effect. If Maria-sama gives her confident seal of approval, then it must surely be reliable. Shannon-chan clapped her hands and Maria stuck out her chest. She was totally in a good mood again. It's probably best if we let her lead the conversation a bit longer, if it'll keep her in such a good mood. Come to think of it, she looked a bit bored when we were getting excited about the hidden gold, probably because she couldn't keep up. While eating the cookies Kumasawa-san had baked, Jessica and I asked Maria about that black magic. Maria happily chatted away in response to our questions. Each time, George, Anarchy, and Shannon would act surprised or chime in. The clouds in the sky grew darker and darker, but we cousins really enjoyed communicating freely after a year of separation. Ooh. Did I just feel a drop in my forehead? Huh? I wonder. As George Anarchy rubbed his forehead, he looked up at the sky. Considering the colour of the sky and the dampness in the air, it wouldn't have been odd for a raindrop to hit him. The wind had also grown a bit stronger. Ew, I didn't feel a drop. Only I didn't. Ew. Don't worry, neither did I. Anyway, I'm sure it'll rain so much tonight that everyone will get to feel plenty of raindrops. That's right. Maybe we should head back soon. Shana-chan looked down her watch. It was probably well into the evening by now. Is it already time for you to return to your work? Yes. Thank you very much for allowing me to enjoy some time together with you all. Tell Kumasawa-san thanks for the cookies. Okay, everyone. Help out with the cleanup. Shana-chan declined our help, saying this was a servant's job, but picking up drop forks before the waitress is pretty much my purpose in life. We folded up the blankets and gathered up trash, and helped clean everything up. Ew, the trash is getting away. Ew. I won't let it escape. I'll grab it before Maria does. Ew, I'll grab it. Ew. Maria, don't get your shoes wet before you get in trouble. Maria chasing after some trash sent flying by the powerful winds was just another game. By the time we finished, the wind was blowing pretty strongly. Probably a good time to head back. You've all helped me out a lot. Thank you very much. It looks like you're really out of time. It's okay if you head back first. George Anarchy perceived from her hurried appearance that very little of her free time was left. Genji-san's pretty strict about time. If you don't show up where you're supposed to be at the right time, I bet he'll be pissed. We'll see you later. Do your best with your work. Yes. Then, if you'll excuse me. After making a respectful bow, Shan-chan ran towards the rose garden. Okay, let's head back to the guest house. We can watch TV or something and relax a little. Ooh, wanna watch TV? Wanna watch TV? Ooh. Then it's decided. Let's all head back and watch TV together. Maria, who wasn't done having fun, agreed once television was mentioned. We climbed up the gentle stairs and returned to the rose garden. The wind had grown very strong and roses shook through the garden like ripples on the water. This might be our last chance to see the beautiful roses. I bet tonight's typhoon ruins them. The roses might be done in by tonight's winds. You're right. Still, I think the roses were pretty lucky. After all, they got to welcome all of you before the typhoon. All the flowers lose their petals eventually, but that means we can admire them even more when they're in bloom. That's right. Maria, burn this image into your eyes. At this moment, they're the best roses of the year. Ewe, burned into eyes. Right then, Maria suddenly clapped her hands. It looked like she'd remembered something. My rose! The typhoon was sent it flying! Ewe? You mean that sad-looking rose George Anarchy marked with a rude? Maria apparently remembered where the rose was. She ran at full speed. The rest of us followed her. Ewe? Ewe? Where was it again? I'm not sure. It was around here somewhere. We searched everywhere around that area, but it was only a single flower among these roses after all. Even though we knew it was somewhere close by, we weren't able to find it. The wind making up the typhoon's front lines made the roses throughout the garden undulate. It was almost like it was teasing us by making the locations of Maria's rose impossible to find. Maybe it wasn't here. Let's try spreading out a bit in our search. Sounds good. Let's go for strength in numbers. What's up, Maria? As we made to split up the search, Maria tugged on my jacket with an unhappy face. You can tell that she didn't want us to leave that spot. What is it, Maria? What's wrong? Rose is here. It's here. But it's actually not, right? Maybe it was on the other side of the flower bed. If we all look, we'll find it fast, okay? It's here. My rose is here. Look for it. Look for it. Maria stomped her feet in irritation. She pointed at that spot and said it was definitely there, but in actuality it wasn't. Even so, Maria got mad when we said we were going to search elsewhere. We were at a loss for what to do. For a while, we had to stay near Maria and pretend to search the rose thicket. Ew, ew, not here, not here, not here, ew. Maybe she's saying that it should be here, but it isn't. Maria became increasingly irritated. Oh man, Maria is really losing her temper. Sometimes Maria really starts to care about really pointless stuff. If she gets what she wants, that's okay, but you can't find something that isn't here. That's not good. Just when we were at a loss for what to do, Maria called out in a loud voice, Mama! Uwu? We could see Aunt Rosa in the direction Maria was waving her hands. Maybe she wanted to look at the rose garden one more time before the typhoon came, or maybe she had some business at the guest house. Aunt Rosa was coming from the mansion. She quickly noticed her daughter's voice and came over. My, what happened, everyone? Are you looking for something? Look for it, Mama! You look for my rose too! Uwu? Your rose? We found an unhealthy rose around here and marked it. We tied a candy wrapper around it, but Maria, if I remember correctly, it was going right in front. But Maria, if I remember correctly, it was going right in front and really stood out, didn't it? Unless it grew legs and ran off somewhere, it must have been somewhere else. Maybe you remembered wrong. Uwu? It's here! It is here! Badler doesn't believe, Uwu! How many times do I have to tell you to stop oohing before you'll understand? Mama will look for it, so stay quiet. I'd never seen Aunt Rosa say anything other than kind and gentle, so her sudden anger surprised me a bit. Aunt Rosa began searching as well, so we went along with her for the time being, but we were already more than sure it wasn't around here. So it didn't take long for Aunt Rosa to realize that too. The rose isn't here. Did you mistake this place for somewhere else? There's so many roses around. Uwu? Uwu! That's wrong! It is here! Mama doesn't believe! Uwu? Did she just fucking hit her mum? I already believed you and looked for it, didn't I? But it isn't here. Uwu! It is here! It is here, but it isn't! Uwu? Then someone must have ripped it out. Anyway, stop saying uwu. Uwu? Uwu? Who ripped out my rose? Who did it? Give it back! Give it back! Uwu. Uwu! Uwu! How should I know? Stop it! Stop saying uwu! Aunt Rosa... Ooh. Aunt Rosa slapped Maria's left cheek with her palm. In that instant, Maria was shocked into silence. Of course, it was only for an instant. When Maria realized that her wish was being rejected, she started yelling even louder. Uwu, uwu, my rose, my rose, uwu. Didn't I tell you to stop that weird habit? That's why the kids in your class make fun of you. Cut it out! Once again, her palm slapped Maria's cheek. This time, she didn't go silent. She choked as she started crying and began to bawl in an increasingly loud voice. Aunt Rosa was clearly irritated and lifted her hand one more time and tried and shut her daughter up. Aunt Rosa, now she's just a little kid. There's no reason to get so serious. I tried to cut in with a bitter smile, rubbing my hands together, but Aunt Rosa glared at me with a serious face, and I realized I should have stayed out of this. I'm sorry, but could the rest of you go back to your room for a bit? I need to have a little chat with Maria. Uwu, no believes in my rose, even though it was here. Uwu. Look for it! Look for it! Here! It was here! Uwu. But it's not here. You must have confused this place for somewhere else, right? Uwu, it's here! It's definitely here! Then it disappeared. Give it up. Why? Why did it disappear? Why? Why? Uwu? I don't know that, so stop saying uwu! Aunt Rosa once again raised her hand, overcome by emotion, and slapped Maria's cheek. It was strong enough to knock Maria over. Hey, Aunt Rosa, even if she is your daughter, violence isn't the answer. I stepped between them to protect Maria, who was still crying uwu. I knew that as an outsider, problems between parent and child were none of my business. But I wasn't brought up just to silently observe something like this. Don't you think it's weird, Battler-kun? Are there any girls at your school who mutter ubu? Well, I am in high school, but for an elementary schooler, I think saying uwu is pretty cute. Cute? Saying uwu is cute? Cute? My careless words seem to have earned me Aunt Rose's wrath. She grabbed my collar with a terrifying expression. Don't say such nonsense. Do you know how old Maria is? She's 9. She's a 4th grader, not a kindergartner, but she still makes that sound during class. Don't you get it? Do you know what they say about this kid when they bully her? Thanks to this weird habit, she still hasn't made a single friend. Don't turn your eyes from reality and carelessly call Maria cute. Think more seriously about this kid's future. Crying. I told you to stop making that sound! Didn't I tell you to stop it? Aunt Rosa struck Maria's quivering head, from which an increasingly unhappy voice was rising. I tried to stop, but Aunt Rosa pushed me away. My back hit George Anarchy. A long time ago, Rosa also thought of it as nothing more than one of Maria Chan's baby words. But now that it hasn't been fixed even midway through elementary school, she's been worrying about it a lot. How she talks isn't really that big of a deal, right? She'll never make it as an adult if she talks like that. She's 9! She's a 9-year-old girl! Fuck's sake! She's nowhere near an adult! Let her be 9! Fuck me, man!
I know! Like, justice for Maria.
Justice for Maria. So even though
she lost her friend, Shadow lost her, but, you know, same thing.
I took me a second to realize you were making a fucking, Sonic reference. I was like, who the fuck's Shadow? Oh my god.
No, I'm talking about, one of the random ladies that show up, because the thing is with Umineko is if you've ever seen photos of a lot of the characters, like cast members, you'll realize that there's just a lot of random women. Just a lot of random women. You're like, how many random women are there?
So even
yeah,
though
be excited for the random women.
I love women. So even though isn't fun to watch, this is a problem between parent and child. Well, even I get chewed out by mum all the time because of how I talk. When they put it that way, maybe even the scenes, as painful as this, is something an outsider like me shouldn't butt in on. Badler-kun, when you were a kid, didn't you have any bad habits that you couldn't fix that got you into trouble? Well, 1 or 2. One on Parents' Day once, I kept being yelled at in front of everyone, and it was embarrassing as hell. Well then...
I read that as St. Patrick's Day.
One day on St. Patrick's Day, I kept getting yelled at. Well then, you can understand how the two of them must be feeling right now. I'm sure they don't want us to be here. You understand that too, don't you, Jessica-chan? I don't think anyone likes to be seen when they're being scolded. Let's go. We'll return to the guest house, then after Maria-chan comes back, let's welcome her as if nothing had happened. It's probably for the best, isn't it? We thought George Anaki's point was probably a reasonable one, and we may have been eager to use that reasonable sounding argument as justifications to retreat from this retreat from this heart-rendering scene. Jessica and I nodded at George Anaki, and we all left. We all called towards Maria, telling her that we were going to head back to the guest house, but she didn't seem to hear, and we felt sort of guilty and shameless in saying it.
Baby!
He's baby. In that case, look by yourself as much as you want. Mama doesn't care. Ew, I'll look for it. I'll look for it by myself. Tell me Maria does not go missing, please. Mama,
yeah, I can't make any promises.
Oh, no. My girl. Even if Mama doesn't care, ooh, have it your way. After blasting her with those last few words, Rosa spun on her heel and quickly returned to the mansion. Maria probably viewed that as a cold gesture meant to injure, but that wasn't Rosa's intention. It was because the hand in which she had emotionally struck Maria's cheek was still numb. It was because if she stayed there screaming, she might again be taken over by her emotions and continue slapping her daughter's cheek over and over. After Rosa left, Maria was left alone in the rose garden. The wind once again blowing stronger and stronger, and every once in a while a raindrop would fall on her forehead. However, Maria couldn't leave that place, not until she found that poor wilting flower. It had definitely been there. Even so, it wasn't. Even though she knew that place, and even though it wasn't there, it had been there, it wasn't. Maria bitterly stared down the place it was supposed to be and thought frantically, maybe the angle I'm looking from is wrong. Maybe the height I'm looking from is wrong. While gazing at a single point, Maria repeatedly stood up and changed her position and continued to stare. The wind was getting stronger and stronger. Maria kept looking for the rose in front of the flower bed. Okay, I am going to save.
Had a feeling. What do you think's gonna happen from here, though?
I assume something is probably gonna happen to Maria, which makes me sad, because why would you split up the youngest character? Maybe she sees Beatrice or something. I'd assume this is where shenanigans begin and the whole little prophecy starts.
The epitaph?
The epitaph, yeah.
What do you think about that, by the way? I know that the cousins were discussing it, but that was our discussion on that was kind of cut short by that.
What's it called? I think the more I read about it, the two who would be split up, there's a lot of different people that it could be. And I know they were talking about lovers, but it doesn't necessarily have to be lovers. It could also be siblings, or it could be, it very well could be Maria and her mother. Could be Maria and Rosa.
I so badly want to spoil things, but I can't.
Can you tell me how long in the manga you think we are?
Probably about 6 or 7 chapters.
Okay, that's not bad. It's been like 6 hours.
Honestly, my best guess is I'd say a manga chapter, which is about 50 pages, sometimes with quite a bit of words, would be about an hour of reading. But even so, I'm realizing there's stuff here that wasn't even mentioned in the manga, which makes me think I could have figured out everything so much quickly if I had have had this extra bit of info this early on, because I think I don't think it mentioned Kinzo's, I guess, upbringing at this point in the manga. I feel like at this point, oh wait, there's this one really key detail I don't even think has come up yet. Or otherwise I might have been zoning out at that point. Oh, I don't want to say what the line is, but it's a line that is just so paramount to figuring out exactly what's going on. But what do you think is going to happen when shenanigans begin?
Well, for one, to be fair, I pretty much guessed the whole Kinzo is not from Otawara thing, because they kept saying he was from a branch family, and you've got all of these family members who come from all over Japan to this one place. So it's like, well, why would he be in Otawara if he's from a branch family? But I have a feeling that the key that they're talking about is probably Battler, because he's a traveler. And he's referred to himself as an outsider multiple times, so it's like it could be like he's the traveler. At one point, the two besties that we've been talking about a lot, I assumed they were the two. Because like it's like, well, those are the only two other characters that you've told me about. But to be fair,
there are so many characters, Brooklyn.
Yeah, to be fair, they could also be Shannon and Kanon, because they're the two and they're like siblings, kind of. but they're not. I don't know. They've mentioned that they might be siblings, but not by blood or something. What was it? They haven't mentioned the shrine again. I have a feeling that the shrine is, well, sorry, no, it's a Torii gate that disappeared, but I'm assuming there's probably a shrine to go along with it. And that's in the forest somewhere, and they might discover that. So my guess is probably what they're looking for is all on the island. So all of the like hints and stuff like that. There's a shrine somewhere on the island that sort of has a lot of like Beatrice, yokai, that sort of stuff. Obviously, we're probably going to see Beatrice at some point in this chapter. But, yeah, I assume we're now sort of in the, at least a quarter into the first episode.
Well, actually,
I would say half, but it feels a little too early to be half, or like too good to be true for it to be half.
I'm going to give you a spoiler on word counts. Umineko word count. Oh goodness. Alright. Okay, so episode 1 roughly has 143,504 words.
So a literal novel for one chapter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh lord.
I hope we're about at least 20,000 words in. I mean, I'm not keeping count.
Neither. But I've already gone through them getting to the island, then what's it called? And then we're only now getting to the typhoon happening, which I'd assume is a big part.
Really start picking up from here.
Yeah. So I would assume we're at the very least a quarter of the way in, maybe a third. I feel like a third is pushing it because of how fucking long.
Definitely pushing it.
So, yeah.
Oh, but the word count I said also included a 5,000 long word tea party section. So
Jesus.
the
Why?
main story only includes 136,794 according to this person on Reddit.
Bro. Oh, it's like a little mini dress.
Yeah.
I thought it was like full gown, and she has the crest on her. Why does she have the crest on her? Why does she have the crest?
Genji has it on his suit if you look at his.
Oh, that is true. But she's physically got it branded on her.
Wait, is it on Kanan?
Kanan, yeah, it's on Kanan's thing over here. Oh, he doesn't.
Oh my goodness.
Goda doesn't.
You rebel.
To be fair, Kumasawa doesn't either, but I would assume maybe, I don't know, it's on her tits or something. with how much, we've had no Kumasawa-san today.
I know, you instead got me voicing everyone while you were eating.
Yeah.
I'm
got
gonna
some
start
Mia
petitioning
voice
to be
lines.
more characters though, and I've got a character in mind that I want to cast as Alex, but I don't think that character's gonna show up until about chapter 4 or 5. But I just think it would be funny if we got Alex to be this one character.
Obviously, Eva has the thing on her multiple. Like, they said she takes this symbol very seriously.
She's so serious about it.
She's the only other character with, like, a tattoo. I swear to God, if these two are related, I will scream. Anyway. Because his eyes are kind of purple. Oh, both of their eyes are kind of purple, and hers are blue, so maybe not.
So your theory is that, Shannon...
But then his eyes are fucking green!
No!
Huh?
I mean, we'll get to that really soon. But no, Shannon should not be Eva's child.
No. What's it called? I was gonna say, because they've, like... I don't know why, but, like, the fact that she's got a tattoo means that she's been, like, branded in a way.
Jessica
only has it on her, like, sleeve over here. Okay, well, I think that will be. That's not what I was supposed to do. That will be
so
it
badly
for.
wanna spoil this with you, Brooklyn. I so badly want to spoil this.
Well, we'll get another like 2 hours next week with our next episode of Umineko Monday. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.